Welcome back, everybody, to Two Comic Book Dudes. Tonight we have a special guest with us. I'm Aaron Clutter, the editor-in-chief of Comic Booked. As always, I've got Justin to my left, as you're looking at him, to my right, as I'm sitting here. And all the way on the other side of the world is Phil Buck. He's the creator of Those Shadow People that we're going to talk about today. I've actually done a review of the books. If you check out comicbook.com and search Those Shadow People, you can check out my article where I reviewed each one of the books, issue 1 and issue 0 that just came out. Issue 1 came out back in 2012, and issue 0 just came out in April. So we had a big release review of that. We're here to talk about the books themselves that have already come out, and number 2 that's coming out soon. So, Phil, you want to take it away and go ahead and talk about kind of how you came up with this idea, what the books are about, and then we'll ask you some questions after that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. First, I just want to say thanks for having me. I appreciate what you guys are doing. As far as this whole project, it actually started as a musical project. Back in 2012, I was taking our music for the first time from a digital format into a physical format because so many things in the music industry and the comic book industry have shifted from physical to digital, and more so in the music industry, I think. And we were kind of tired of that. We wanted to make a physical product, so we made vinyl. We still are, but we're moving toward full length. But we started with 45s. I have one here. This is the Shadow People's 45. Ooh. And so basically, long story short, we were making music that inspired comic books. If you listen to that record right there, which you can find on our website and stuff like that, iTunes and everything, we were talking about themes that to me resonated with like a superhero and like horror and action comics. Especially there's this line about if you're in disguise, your alter ego is in control. And I thought, like, that's so interesting. Like, I just want to play with that and see if I can visualize it. And so we made comics to go to the music. I mean, somewhat. They're both loosely, based on the same narrative. So, like, the comics are more of a singular, explicit story, not explicit, like they're explicitly explaining events that happen to these characters, whereas the music is more of like Easter eggs or abstract ideas about the same themes, like identities, alter identities, and that kind of stuff. So it was an experiment. It still is, but the idea was to bring the two mediums of comic books and music kind of into the same realm and kind of create a unique product, mainly to boost music into something that it used to be again, whereas music these days is mainly iTunes, Spotify, that kind of stuff. We wanted to make something that you wanted to own, like physically. And I just always have been a big fan of comic books, and I thought that would be a great way to do that. So that's part of it. The other part was that I really wanted to do animation because of the Gorillas. I thought, Jamie Hewlett and what those guys were doing. He's an amazing comic book artist and now an animator and everything. And the first time I saw Clint Eastwood on MTV, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome, And so I aspired to that for years. I mean, and I can't do that. I thought comic books would be a great way to supplant how much effort has to go into animation. I was wrong because I learned quickly that comic books take an equal amount of different kinds of effort, but Yep. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'd still like to do animation, but I'm fully invested in the comic book music combo right now. So that's basically how we got started with this whole thing.
I will say that's one of the cool things about this was when I originally reviewed it, you sent me some of the songs that went along with issue 1, and just excellent. I mean, it was just so cool how things meshed together. It was really neat.
That was in some ways unintended, but I've heard that more than once, that people did read the comic and listen to the music simultaneously, and it did kind of align. And I wish I could plan that out, but for that to happen at all for some people is just great.
Maybe you did plan it subconsciously.
Yeah. That's great. I would like to believe that idea. I'm going to go with that.
There we go.
It's right along with Pink Floyd and The Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. Yeah. All right. Well, that's cool. Justin, you had a couple questions.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've only read issue 2. So I don't know some of the backstory, unfortunately.
Well, I'll tell
But
you what. Let me go ahead and bring up the covers here real quick,
okay.
and we'll start there. I mean, this was a really cool story. I liked the storyline itself. Now, I think I missed issue 1 because I only like to read issue 0, which kind of
Right.
went back and it fills the gap in between 1 and 2. So it was good because it introduced the characters to me. It gave me that rundown of who everybody was. Um, I can't for the life of me remember all the names, but I know, the main characters there. Was it Sarah, the
Yeah.
woman? Okay,
Yeah, Sarah's the main character.
So Sarah and her dad was the scientist who was working with dark matter, and she got kind of soaked in it, you want to say, right? Exposed to it and
Yeah.
got powers. So that was really cool. And then she opens this portal, and then, of course, bad things happen from there. So it's a really great storyline, even without the music. And then you add the music into it, and I just felt like that. It just made it so much better.
Well, issue 1 was very much a learning curve for me, and I will go ahead and take props as well as criticism, because this was my first outgoing as a comic book creator, and I literally worked with an artist that was not a comic book artist. He was a great artist, Eric Turner. He's local Denver artist that does mainly like art cards and paintings and stuff like that. And that was a result of me reaching out to a lot of artists that I knew, trying to figure this process out. And he was the one that was actually interested and enthusiastic and motivated to do it. But the point of all that was just to say that this first comic was actually executed truly in that Marvel method fashion that Stan Lee used to do in the 60s. And when he would say, hey, I've got this idea, draw it up and get back to me, and I'm going to fill in, I'll fill in the captions and the dialogue and all that kind of stuff. That's exactly what happened here. And I thought that was like a thing at the time. Like, I shortly learned in the years after that really that's not a thing anymore. It doesn't matter if you work for Marvel or DC, people write scripts and, they put together comics based off scripts. And that's where I'm at now. But at the time, I talked to Eric. We would meet up at a bar and we'd talk through what I wanted to happen. And he would draw it and bring me a page every week or so. And then finally, once all the pages were done, I would sit down and letter it with the dialogue and the captions and everything. So it's a very interesting project to look back on, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I never could have predicted that's how it would have turned out. And to that end, the real point I wanted to make is that you were talking about all the characters in the issue 0. Those were the characters that we wanted to talk about in the beginning, but we thought that there should be like a reader analog first, like somebody to bring you into this world, which was Sarah. Sarah's the one that kind of stumbles upon the weird stuff, the dark matter, the portal, all this stuff, happens to her. It happens to the reader, because of her story. And really, we never got to touch on any of the characters that are considered those shadow people, except for like, if you read the first little splash page, it has some profiles of them. And
Right.
I think that was good. I didn't know that it would take me another 2 years to make the next issue. So I wish I would have maybe focused on those characters more then. But those characters are actually based on the musicians. Like the people that play the music are those shadow people. At least that's how it started. And
That's really cool.
we
Wow.
thought that they would be musicians in the comic, and people immediately were like, we know you love Gorillaz, Phil. This is too much like Gorillaz. You can't do that. Like, you got to be original. You can't just do what Gorillaz did. And I was like, you're right. So that's basically the reason issue 1 is what it is, and the reason issue 0 is like really the first showing of the shadow people in action, whereas before they were just behind the scenes. They were there, but they're actually coming to
They were
life
in the shadows.
Exactly.
Yep. That's cool. Well, that's a good segue into the 0 issue, which we covered back in April. And this kind of brings us after they've successfully escaped from what was called the Shadow Realm.
So there's a like a dual lopsided story going on here, where some people are in the Shadow Realm and some people are in our world, which we call the World of the Light in the comics. And basically, Sarah and her father shut down the portal between these two worlds, and that's both good and bad depending on whose side you're on. Like in the Shadow Realm, they're very excited that the portal was shut down because it was pulling their people out of their own world and basically enslaving them to this weird corporate Illuminati entity just called the Unknown Party right now. We don't know a whole lot about them as far as the reader goes, but the shadow people in the Shadow Realm are very glad that they're not being pulled out of their own world anymore. And that's where basically you see this issue opens up. You see 4 different pages of 4 different little one-off stories where, the people that were in control of the portal are upset and basically they've lost all of their work, their gains, their resources because of Sarah and her father. And it goes on to explain how some people are really happy, some people are pissed off, and what's going to happen after that is kind of alluded to in the last page with Sarah and her dad again.
Yeah, it was interesting because it was like you almost had the good guys and the bad guys in both worlds give their little couple pages of their reactions to the portal being closed. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was basically the idea, is that this started out as an epilogue, and I played with the comic book nomenclature. It was going to be an epilogue, then it was going to be a 1.5, and finally we settled on issue 0 just because it's kind of it's auxiliary. Like if you don't read issue 0, you'll be okay. Like everything will still make sense. But if you do read issue 0, it's it's a little bit of icing on the story cake, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a good transition for sure. So, and there was music with this too, right? 5 tracks.
This one was actually way more music than comic books. The original idea was that we would have a page for each song, like each page of the comic would kind of correlate to the song, which is interesting because we were talking about the music and the comic pacing is totally different in this one. But it did result in us being able to do these motion comics that, we can talk about that later, but we've got some YouTube videos where the pages kind of unfold with the music. But, this one is basically more music and just a little bit of comic. And I wish we had more comic. But yeah, there's actually 4 songs and 4 remixes as well. So remixes of the 4 songs are on the same release. So just to give you a different flavor of those tracks.
It's pretty cool.
I know what I'm doing after the
Yeah, I wish we could show some of those YouTube videos, but the tool that we use for presentations, when we bring up a YouTube video, all it shows for the viewers is check out this link. That's all. So we could watch it and we could talk about it, but nobody else can see it. So it's kind of funny. All right. Well, let's jump into issue 2, which this is the upcoming release, we'll call it. Although folks can get a hold of this, like once in a lifetime chance, right? This coming weekend. So we'll talk about that right after we talk about the book.
So yeah, issue 2 has been something that after I learned, like I was telling you guys before, the learning curve for me as far as creating comics, it was rough, but I finally started to get it figured out, and I just kept pushing. Once we did issue 0, different artists for every issue so far, but I finally think I've got a really solid team with issue 2. Chris Winters does the pencils and ink all digitally, and then Iwan Juku Trayono from Indonesia does the colors, and it's a really solid team because everybody is just flowing now. So we got issue 2 done way before any new music, which is okay with me because I've always struggled to keep up making comics as we make music, because I mean music and me and my friends, music was our thing that we did. We just do it anyway. So music was coming out all the time. Comics were always a work in progress. But issue 2, about a month ago, I realized that we were extremely close to being finished within like 2 or 3 pages. And Comic-Con, which I had booked months ago, is this coming weekend. And I was just like, you know what? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to put this out. I mean, or not hundreds, but close to 100,000 people attend Denver Comic-Con, and I was like, I gotta get this thing out. So we did. We pushed really hard this month to finish everything and get it printed. And so issue 2 is actually, I think, the greatest fruition of the project so far. It's like a really well-balanced amount of comics with music. And although I don't have the music for anybody yet, you can pick up the comic. We're going to have it at Denver Comic-Con this weekend. So if you come by the booth, it's a 24-page new comic book that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. If you're interested in those shadow people and seeing where the story goes, this is where you can find out.
That's awesome. All right, well, let me jump to the last slide here. So how can you get the books? Well, issue 1 and issue 0, along with the music, are all available on your website, nematoderecords.com. And so they can click on there, or go to there and pick those up. Are there still some of the vinyl available? I know last time I checked there were.
There's literally one singular vinyl left at this point. I mean, literally, like, this is the one I'm going to take to Comic-Con. If somebody wants it, you're welcome to buy it. It's going to probably be about $20 for the package, which is going to be a vinyl, a comic, and then all these covers that we make. I haven't talked about this at all, but we are also screen printers. And so we screen print these covers that go with our records. So there's like a very exclusive little piece of art. You can see Sarah down here, and on the back you can see this is the 2 different realms. You can see Denver and the Shadow Realm down here. So cool. This is part of what we did before we made comics, and all that is available in one more copy if anybody wants it. So we'd love to do a repressing, but vinyl just takes months compared to printing a comic. Sometimes you can get it back the next week. If you do a vinyl, it takes literally months to get the vinyls back. So I just couldn't do that for Comic-Con, but I have one more, so somebody can get it.
All right. So yeah, you can check out their or their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Nematode Records. That'll take you right to their channel. Watch all the motion comics. The other things you can do, head on over to Denver Comic-Con, table C24. Phil will be there. Say hi to him. And if you mention that you saw him on Two Comic Book Dudes or comicbook.com, you'll get a free sticker. So
everybody loves stickers.
I'll do what I'll do. Let me shrink this. Let me get you a little bigger picture.
These are vinyl stickers, so high quality. They'll last for a long time. Whatever you prefer to stick them on. I've stopped putting those on my car these days, but I used to have covered up on the bumper.
Nice.
That's cool. All right. Well, Phil, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today about your comics, and we wish you good luck at Denver Comic-Con. I wish I could come out, but I'm in Maryland. It's kind of the other side of the country.
We'll be sending you good vibes like all weekend, though.
We'll need it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, we our show. We are Two Comic Book Dudes, and our guest this week was Phil Buck, creator of Those Shadow People. So definitely check out his website, nematoderecords.com. Check out or meet him this weekend at Denver Comic-Con. And you can go to comicbook.com as well and check out our review of Those Shadow People Well, I think I did the review of 0, talked about 1 a little bit, but definitely, check that book out. So stay tuned. We'll have some other interviews coming up over the next week. We've got several people lined up. Too many actually to fit in the days of the next week. So we're trying to get everybody scheduled around. Plus our regular shows where we review Zenescope and Valiant. And we also go through comics, movies, TV, all that other stuff. So definitely subscribe to our channel, like, share, do all that good stuff. And, check us out. Usually every week we have one giveaway going on. So we look forward to that. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.